Hi, welcome once again to M5's English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good! And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good! Okay, well, let's learn English together. And hello to you all. Yes, we're here, we're now, and it's Tuesday. Yes, people, welcome to the second day of the week. The standard working week, that is. But you all knew that, didn't you? Yes, of course you did. We all know that the week consists of 7 days, but we also know that the standard working week begins on Monday and ends on Friday. Now, it's also true that we all know people who don't work a standard working week. Think about policemen and firemen and nurses and doctors and paramedics and lots of other jobs too. Security guards for one, and people who work in bars and restaurants for another. These people don't work a standard working week, do they? No. For a lot of these people, their work involves working in shifts. Now, do we all know what a shift is? Well, we all know the shift key on a computer keyboard, don't we? Yes. And when we think of a shift key, what do we think of? Yes, when we want an uppercase letter, a capital letter, we use the shift key to tell the computer that we'd like a big letter. Shift plus T tells the word processor that we'd like to see this, not this. So, that's the shift key on the computer keyboard, and it doesn't only work with lowercase and uppercase letters, does it? No, of course not. We all know that on a British keyboard, shift plus 2 makes the and sign, the thing which means at, the thing we need a lot of the time when we're thinking about email and internet addresses and Twitter and things like that. All right, so what does all this tell us? Well, to really understand the basic idea of shift, we should look at something which has a keyboard, but something which predated the computer keyboard. Yes, you all know what I'm talking about, don't you? Yes, one of these. Yes, that's what we need to think of, a typewriter, an old mechanical typewriter. Now, this is where we find the shift key. There are two, in fact, one on the left and one on the right. And what do they do, these shift keys? Well, the answer's in the name of the key. To shift something is to move something from one place to another. Normally when we're talking about a small distance. When you press the shift key on a typewriter, it shifts part of the typewriter. It moves part of the typewriter so that now when you press the keys, different characters appear on the paper. Normally, these characters are the uppercase versions of the alphabet, but the shift key also makes it possible to type different symbols as well, such as the ampersand sign and the percent sign. So, that's what the shift key does, or did. It physically shifted part of the typewriter to make it possible to type other characters onto the paper. It moved part of the typewriter. It shifted part of the typewriter. And by using the shift key, just like today, we can type in lowercase or uppercase letters. We can write or type with uppercase letters, that is capital letters, and we can also write and type with lowercase letters, small letters. Okay, so that's the basic idea of shift, the idea that we move something a little bit. And how does that connect to the idea of shift work? How? In no way at all. The only connection between the two words is that they're spelt the same way, that's all. Yes, so we have the verb to shift, the verb which means to move something, and we have the same spelling for the noun. But when we think of the two words, there's nothing to connect them apart from the spelling. When we talk about someone working a shift or shift work, when we talk about early and late shifts, then we're merely talking about people working what we might call unorthodox hours. We all know that there are 24 hours in a day, don't we? Yes, of course we do. Now, speaking generally, we also know that people normally work 8 hours a day. This is where we get the idea of a 40-hour week. People work 8 hours a day from Monday to Friday. That's the basic working week. Okay. We also know that in actual fact these days most people probably work more than 40 hours in a week, apart from the French. But that's another topic, another subject for another time. The thing is that when we think about the standard working week, then that's okay. But that idea doesn't include everyone who does a job, does it? The standard working week assumes that we all start work at 9 o'clock in the morning and work until 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That's the standard idea of a 9 to 5 job. But that idea excludes the people who work in shifts. Think about people who don't work in an office, for example. Think about those jobs where people don't, in fact, can't go home after 5 p.m. Think about the police force, think about the army, think about the fire brigade, think about hospitals and the ambulance service. Think about power stations, think about nuclear reactors. Think about all the jobs in the world where we need to have people working 24 hours a day. Yes. And what's the problem with this idea? What's the big problem which we have to get around? Yes, that's right. People can't work 24 hours a day, can they? No. We're not designed to be awake for 24 hours a day, and we're certainly not designed to work for 24 hours a day. Okay, so what's the answer? Shift work. That's the answer. When we're looking at a job which requires people to be working 24 hours a day, the solution is to split the day. Divide the day into 3 periods. Normal office workers work 8 hours a day, and we can divide 24 by 8, can't we? Yes! And that gives us 3 periods, 3 shifts of 8 hours each. So this is how we can ensure, this is how we can make sure that we have people working in the nuclear facility all the time. This is how we can make sure that there's always someone ready to help if you call the police or the fire brigade or the ambulance service. Soldiers can't leave work at 5 p.m, can they? What if the country gets attacked at 7:34 p.m? What about the weekend? If all the soldiers are at home enjoying their weekend, then who's ready to defend Hungary? Exactly! Someone has to be there, working 24 hours a day, and the only way we can achieve this is to utilize shift work. Well, okay, we could use robots. They don't need to sleep, but, well, robots are only robots, and they can't think on their feet, not like us. Robots don't have the cognitive skills to think for themselves. Okay, they can build TVs if we program them to do that, and they can weld cars together too if we program them to do that. But robots and computers don't have the brains to think for themselves. Well, not in real life. In Hollywood, they always seem to be able to think, but that's Hollywood, not real life. So, we split the day into 3 periods, 3 shifts. Normally, the first shift of the day starts at 6 a.m. This shift lasts for 8 hours, which means, of course, that the people who start work at 6 a.m. finish at 2 p.m. That's when the group of people who are working the second shift of the day start work. They too work for 8 hours, which means that they finish work when? Yes, that means that they finish work at 10 p.m, when the people who are working the late shift come to work. These people, the people working the late shift, work from 10 p.m. all the way through the night and the early hours of the morning before they finish at 6 a.m, coming home as everyone else is waking up. Their day is a bit upside down. They're coming home to go to sleep when we're all getting up and going about our business. When we come home and prepare to go to bed, these people are getting ready to start work. Now, obviously, this makes things a bit difficult for those people. We all remember how Enid told us about the best laid plans of mice and men, don't we? Yes, you can make all the plans you like, but a lot of the time, things don't work out the way you plan, do they? And it's the same with shift work. Think about doctors, think about nurses, think about firemen, think about policemen. All of these people have one thing in common. They tend to work shifts. And part of their compensation for working odd hours is they get a week off to recuperate, to recover, or to rediscover the balance in their life. But although they're not working this week, most of the time they can't just relax completely, can they? No. In this week, although they're meant to be recovering from their shift work, they're probably also on call. And we all know what that means, don't we? Yes, if someone is on call, then they don't have to go to their workplace, but if they're needed, then they have to be ready to drop everything at a moment's notice and go to work as quickly as possible. So we have the verb to shift, a synonym for move or carry or transfer. We can also use the verb to shift to talk about changing the emphasis, direction or focus of something. Imagine if me and my sister decide to steal some chocolate from the fridge. We come up with the idea together, we plan the whole thing together, and we manage to get the chocolate from the fridge without our parents noticing. Great! So far, so good. But then, oh no. Someone tipped off the authorities. Mum and Dad received a tip-off. Probably from the dog or the cat. Those two can't be trusted. Anyway, the upshot of all this is that me and my sister, got busted. We got caught, we got nabbed, we were taken into custody, we had our collars felt. So, we're in hot water, we've been caught. Now, what do you think will happen? Well, what if my sister tries to deflect blame from herself onto me? There's an old phrase, there's honour amongst thieves. But in reality, we know that this isn't really true. If a group of people get caught, one or more members of the group will squeal. One or more of the group will inform, will grass to the authorities. Remember the bench fields in the supermarket? Yes, that's right. Eddie Finn warned Tim not to be a grass, not to grass him up to the police, not to inform on him. All right, so imagine the situation. My sister's being grilled by her parents. She's getting the 3rd degree and she cracks. She cracks under pressure. She can't take the pressure of being interrogated. So she decides to make it easier for herself. She tries to shift the blame. She tries to shift the responsibility for the crime of stealing chocolate from the fridge, from herself onto me. She tries to change the emphasis of the guilt. She tries to emphasize my role in the crime while reducing her role. She's shifting the blame onto me. She tells our parents that the whole idea was mine. I dreamt up the plan. I planned the heist. The robbery was all my idea. To make things easier for herself, she reduced the importance of her role in the crime and emphasized my role. She shifted the blame. She shifted the blame onto someone else. She shifted the blame onto me. Nasty Kate. Bad elder sister. All right, well, all's fair in love and war, and that's what brothers and sisters do. They rat on each other. They grass each other up. They tell on each other. They inform on each other. They squeal to their parents about what the other one did. It's only natural, eh? So, although we can use shift as a physical idea, we can also use it like this. We can talk about shifting focus or emphasis or blame. But we also know that a shift, when we're using it as a noun, can refer to a recurring period when different workers do the same job. And as we've seen, the idea of shifting something led to the development of the shift key on typewriters and then on computer keyboards. Now, sometimes you'll see another key near the shift key, the caps lock key, which started off as the shift lock key before people decided that we needed a key to produce only uppercase letters, but not symbols. People wanted to be able to type in uppercase letters, but they also wanted to be able to type numbers, not symbols. If they want symbols, they still have to use the shift key. That's all. And so, yes, that's right, we've come to the end of another lesson. Well, we're approaching the end of the lesson at the moment. So, we all know what that means, don't we? Yes, of course we do. That means that it's time for me to head off home and get a coffee. And, well, as for you lot, it's time for you lot to get up out of your chairs or off your sofas and have a look about the place to see if there's anything that needs your attention. Chores? Well, have a look about the place. Does the dishwasher need emptying? Well then, what about the bathroom? Is it as clean as a new pin? What about the kitchen work surfaces? Are they clean or covered in crumbs? There must be something for you to do, people. But if everything's done, if your flat or house is as clean as a new penny, then congratulations. And that means that you're now free to play frisbee with the giraffe or teach the llamas how to play backgammon or something like that. Whatever you decide to do, make sure that you enjoy yourselves, okay? All right, I'll see you all tomorrow. Have fun, people, have fun. See you later, see you tomorrow, www.mediaclick.hu. Bye!